Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be drawing a character inspired by the grunge aesthetic. I'll be talking about the process, about the sketching, the inking, and then finally the coloring process. So let's jump right into it. So initially for this character, I wanted to do a lot of research. So I hopped over to Google Images and looked up just different images of the grunge aesthetic so that I could get a good overall idea of the aesthetic in my head and try to figure out like what is some of the commonalities in this aesthetic. I really wanted to get into it. So once I did that, then I kind of had a good idea of the outfit the character was going to wear. Then the only thing that I kind of was struggling with here was the background. Now, I had a couple ideas of the background that I wanted. So the first idea I was thinking about, wow, I cannot speak. The first idea I was thinking about was like having the character in some kind of like urban setting. So maybe they're in front of like a broken down building, like a rundown building, and then there's like a fence in the background and maybe some graffiti. So I was having that idea in my mind. And then I also had a second idea of maybe the character could be in some kind of messy bedroom where things are scattered everywhere in the room, like here and there. There's items all over the place, maybe like a messy teenage bedroom. So that is the idea that I selected. I really wanted to do that idea because I wanted to practice drawing cluttered backgrounds. I've seen some artworks of that and I just felt super inspired, and I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to do that in this video. So yeah, then for the composition of this drawing, now here in this point of the video it's kind of hard to see the entire composition, but I really didn't know how to draw the room. I didn't really have any practice on drawing perspective. I mean, I can draw like a cube and like a rectangle prism and stuff like that, but drawing like an entire room is kind of intimidating. So I kind of just winged it to the best of my abilities and just try to push myself to just draw it. Wow, really having difficulty speaking. And so what ended up happening here is that the room, like a lot of the walls was kind of on the upper third of the drawing, and then the floor of the room took up 2/3 of the drawing. Now, I didn't really want that to happen. I wanted more of the walls to be visible in the drawing because in the grunge aesthetic, I saw that a lot of the rooms had lots of posters and stuff stuck on the walls. Like that was the main element of that aesthetic. So I was kind of like bummed out that the walls on this room only was like on the top third of the drawing. That didn't really leave me much space to add the elements that I had in my mind that I wanted on the paper. But I had all this floor space, so I was like, well, I gotta use this floor space somehow. So that's why here I'm drawing this desk. It was not initially what I wanted to draw, but then I'm like, let's just have fun with it. So I drew this bulky monitor. I don't know why, but that kind of spiraled me into a new direction of maybe what if I bring back old technology from previous decades, like the 90s to 80s, and just draw it here. Like maybe this character isn't from one of those decades. So that really put this drawing in a new direction for me, and I just had a lot of fun with that. I literally was just looking at old stereos, Walkmans, old phones from that generation, you know, like the ones from the ones that have antennas on them. So yeah, I just had a lot of fun with that. And then I wanted to add this guitar here. Initially I was thinking like, what if this guitar is like hung up on the walls? Like one of my friends, they love guitars, like they're a guitar player, and they have this one wall, just they hung up all these guitars, and it's like a beautiful artwork almost. So that's what I wanted to do, but did not have the space to do that. I liked how I just kind of leaned it against the desk. I thought that worked pretty well too. Then here I am inking the character. I wanted to vary the line widths on each of the elements. I was thinking that for this character, I wanted to add like thick, bold lines so that it could stand out from the background, and then the background can have like thinner lines so that the character would be the main focus. There was just too much going on with the background, I thought. But did I end up following that plan? No, I did not. Like many of my plans, I just ended up tossing it away, tossing it in the wind, and just doing whatever I wanted to. But I think in the end, it ended up being okay. I added bold lines everywhere, and it was fine. That's just what I gravitate towards. I gravitate towards bigger lines. So yeah, and then here's the outfit that I came up with for this character, the good old flannel and the combat boots. I actually ran out of space for the boots. Usually I like to really draw out all the details on a boot, like just like the different laces, the seams on the boots. But for this one, I kind of drew them smaller so that at least it would fit on the page and it wouldn't just peek out onto the right side on the right page. I wasn't that happy about that, but what can you do? With limited space, this is what you have to do. Then I drew a Rubik's Cube. I thought that was a fun little element. I think, when was the Rubik's Cube invented? I don't even know. Like maybe 90s, 80s? I don't know. But I just thought that would be another fun element to add to the drawing. But yeah. Then for this entire inking process, I feel like for most of the lines, I think I went over each line like at least 4 to 5 times. Like it was kind of ridiculous how many times I went over each line. I don't know. For each line, I just wanted it to be absolutely perfect. So I kept going back and tweaking them until I liked it. Now, this is something I really want to improve upon in my future drawings. Like, I want to just ideally draw a line one time and be done with it and like not touch it from that point onwards. I don't know if that's really possible or not. You know what would be the most ideal thing? If I didn't have any pencil work, just go straight into the line art and just like generate like a perfect image. Maybe one day I'll be that good, but today's not that day. But I think that this entire process is what makes drawing fun, right? Like just going through this hardships, the struggles, the roadblocks, the mess ups, the mistakes. That's what makes it fun. It's the process. It's not the end goal, the end art piece. I think it's getting to that piece, that artwork, that final illustration. That's what art is all about. So yeah. Then for the hair, I wanted to color it in. This dark color, black color. I left a few strands. I didn't color those in. I was playing around with the idea of maybe like coloring it in with some purple or maybe like a pink color, but I didn't end up doing that, mainly because I thought that would be more of like a punk aesthetic, which is not what I was really going for. I don't know. Maybe in the grunge aesthetic, there is like colorful highlights in the hair. I don't really know. This entire drawing was just really loosely based off of that aesthetic. Wow, I am having difficulty speaking today. But yeah. Then here's the coloring process. I took out some of my highlighters that I had. lying around that I don't really use, and mainly because the acrylic paints that I generally use in every video, I just didn't feel like pulling that out and just dealing with all that cleanup. So it was more like of a laziness than like an artistic decision. But I used acrylic paint here for this larger area just to avoid all that streaking that could occur with the water-based markers. And this acrylic paint was from a craft. I think it was like from a paint by numbers. So like the shade was already created for me. I didn't have to mix all the different colors to get to this shade. So I was happy about that. I decided to use like a darker color for the floor. I wanted to actually use it on the walls, but I decided against the idea because of all the detailed work I did on the walls. I feel like that would all just be covered up and hidden by this dark color, so I just used it on the floor instead. And then for the walls, I used like a light lavender color with these highlighters, which I don't really think is supposed to be used to color large areas like this. But I thought I could kind of get away with it because a lot of the shapes on the background were of smaller area, so then the streakiness of the marker wouldn't really show up. Yeah, I don't really know if I hid the streaks that well, but what I did do was I ensured that all the marker lines were going in one direction, so at least if there were streaks, it would be neat and like all the lines, so it would be uniformed. Also, when drawing with water-based markers, I was trying to make sure that none of the marks overlapped each other because that can also cause more streakiness. So I made sure that there was no gaps between each of the marker strokes, and also the strokes didn't overlap. It's kind of difficult to do, especially do it well for like every single part of the drawing. It's hard to get that perfect, but I think I ended up liking the entire illustration. For each part of the drawing, I went over a bunch of layers, especially like for that bed. I went over it with like a purple, then a blue, and then a gray color highlighter to get this final look. Yeah, I really was trying to smoothen up all the different layers. Then for the windows, I decided to color in that area with like a black brush pen marker. I also kind of had fun with this and just added some little white specks. I wanted it to be like kind of like a starry background, but it kind of ended up looking like snowfall. So I'm like, it could be either both, whatever the viewer of this drawing wants it to be. We could just leave it like that. Let the viewer decide. Then I also pulled in some of my prismas into this piece just to add more dimensions to this illustration. I felt like there was a lot of white space, so I added more shading with this Prismacolor pencil to just different components. Wherever I thought it needed it, I just added it. Honestly, just having fun with it. Not really thinking too much about it, which I think art should be like that, right? Just have fun. And then here is the finished illustration, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching.